our colleagues will talk. But essentially, the idea came to our mind to try and help out the micro and small companies to try and team up together. One stream of manufacturing companies and the other stream of the technology solution providers, whether it's the startups or the matured small companies or even micro companies. So we actually physically interviewed almost 35 of them altogether, minimum. In this phase, we had done some similar effort earlier, but our unwanted guest pandemic stuck it down for some time. But as they say, it's an idea whose time has come. That's what we believe, we thought. And we launched this survey. So my colleague Kaustubh and the other colleague Gauri, they went around, met some handpicked companies. Some of them are present here. Some of them are joined online, and some of them will keep meeting later on. So the effort is to try and understand the pain points of the micro and small companies from the manufacturing sector on the other one side, and to try and create a market for them, for the solution providers on the other side. Many of them do have some ready-made solutions. Some of them have a complete or near complete ones. And some of them wanted to understand fully what is the real problem matrix and whether there is sufficient enough marketplace to engage in the form of a cluster activity. So we are not doing like a classical cluster, government-funded cluster activity in that sense. But very soon you will hear a lot more about it. Basically, it's like a matchmaking exercise of the requirements and the capabilities. And then we want to continue that exercise over and over again till we feel that they are on their own, they don't need us anymore. But till this time, as a torchbearer of the MSMEs and the industry, as the industry segments and the government wants us to believe, we thought of engaging in this effort. Also, many of the solution providers whom we interviewed are also displaying their capabilities. So all of you who have not yet visited the Expo, please go around, meet them, understand, maybe share your thoughts, share your pain areas, and they will be happy to incorporate some of those in their offerings. So let me request the chairman of our MSME committee, Mr. Pahwa, to briefly set the tone for the afternoon. Then we move to the briefings or presentations, as they call it, from the experts. Before that, my friend Kaustubh Pingre, who is the Chief Executive Officer of BPM-BC Market Research, will tell you a bit more about what we did, how we went around that exercise that I just talked about. Then we'll have presentations from Aditya Paranspe, Himanshu Jadhav, Dinanath Kolkar, and Prashant Pansare, before we have a little bit of interaction. And then we will conclude. Immediately after this, we will have the International Business Prospect session. So those of you who are interested in that, welcome to stay on, please. So let me request Pahwa sir to set the tone.
Thank you, Sudhanva, and good afternoon, friends, at this post-lunch session of our three-day event. The topic of the session is technology adoption for enhancing the competitiveness of manufacturing sector. Technology, as all of you know and experience, has become a part of our life. It's actually grown on us. Those who belong to my generation understand or could see those two worlds where all that we take for granted today did not exist. In fact, there was no imagination that things like this could happen. And even when the mobile phones came into the country or globally, I was amongst the very early users of mobile phones, emails. Email servers used to be either in Singapore or somewhere in Europe. There were no email servers in India. And rapidly in 15 years' time, emails, mobile phones, smartphones, messages, audio, video, everything seems to have become part of our life. And some years ago, I think 10, 12 years ago, I used to sort of kid a colleague of mine when I was at American Axle. And this guy was always 24/7 was on his BlackBerry. And I wasn't addicted to the phone as much as he was. And I used to tell him that if I have to take revenge from you, the only thing I need to do is take away your BlackBerry. That was, a bigger punishment than kidnapping somebody. So that's how people have got addicted to technology. On the business, it has had its own positive impact because it's shrunk, information channels. In business processes, every process talks to the other process, right from the supplier to the customer. And technology has helped shrink those processes. Information is available real time. The transaction costs of each process has become very, very low. ERP, earlier in this decade, ERP was a buzzword which improved efficiencies of companies by a significant amount. And I think now we are in the second phase of technology adoption with all the internet, cloud computing. The devices have become smarter and everything is accessible easily on the phone or any other simple device on your desk. So, and small companies, even earlier waves of technology have been sort of slow to adopt technology, except in the last couple of years where I find, that every small businessman operates on WhatsApp, and now you have a business account on WhatsApp, you have, you can pay, you can have a financial transaction through WhatsApp and things like that. So that has increased adoption in small businesses significantly, but I think the larger advantages or capabilities that are available in technology, small companies are obviously, for reasons of limited resources, are slow to adopt. So at MCCIA, we are making that effort to form a cluster and have a distributed approach to help MSMEs sort of get onto this technology train. Having said that, I have been always a great believer that technology without an identified outcome is of no use. Technology for the sake of technology, you go out and tell someone that I have adopted an Industry 0.4 means nothing if you are struggling, or if there is not, if you don't have a quantifiable advantage coming out of it. Call it by any name, but it has to deliver a benefit to the organization. And I think one of the sort of key things that's not mentioned by technology companies is that many of the things in the industry, when it comes to efficiency, or processes, or the way in which you do things is not very efficient, because you're not able to measure what is wrong or how efficient your process is. Technology helps you do that. So as we say in the industry, if you can measure something, you can improve it. So technology helps you measure a lot of things that today go unmeasured. And once you're able to measure it, track it on real time or with a little lag, there are options to improve it, and therefore overall improvement in your business efficiencies, and therefore aids your growth. So with this, I welcome all the speakers. We have extremely good speakers from both sides of the aisle, the users and technology people, and I hope that there'll be important takeaways, and some of you can identify areas to employ the technology tools that are available and improve your businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now felicitate our dignitaries for today. I would request Pava sir to please felicitate the guests. We begin with Mr. Kaustubh Pingre, Chief Executive, BPMBC Market Research. Mr. Aditya Paranspe, Chairman, Electronics Committee, MCCIA, and COO, Torjo. Mr. Himanshu Zadhav, CEO and Director, Gendamark India, and Director, EPOS India. Mr. Dinanath Khorkar, Senior Vice President, Tata Consultancy Services. Mr. Prashant Pansare, CEO, Rubyscape Labs. And Mr. Amit Saluja, Senior Director and Center Head, NASSCOM Center of Excellence, Gandhinagar. Thank you, sir. I now request Mr. Kaustubh Pingre to make his presentation.
So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kaustubh Pingre. I represent BPMBC Marketing Research India Private Limited. We are a market research company, and we do different type of market surveys for corporates in India. Recently, we had an opportunity to work with MCCIA, though we have worked with them earlier. We also work with AutoCluster. And here, there was an opportunity to understand what are the perceptions of the MSMEs and SMEs, as well as the IoT service providers, forming an IoT cluster. So your objective here was very clear, like we wanted to understand whether there is a need for IoT to be implemented in MSMEs and SMEs. So this was one objective. Second was whether the IoT service providers have the capability or the solutions to render the needs of the MSMEs and SMEs. So there was a survey being carried out. We met around 25 MSMEs, SMEs, as well as 10 IoT service providers. So this was around 35 numbers that we met. We had been to their offices. We had pre-appointments fixed. We spent quite a time with them, understanding the processes that they have. In this, we found out the pain points those MSMEs and SMEs currently have. So basically identifying the areas where there can be an improvement with the help of IoT. So we listed down all the areas, and we found out which are the common areas that can be readily be implemented, and which are the areas those are customized. We also met the IoT service providers to understand what are their capabilities, what are the solutions they are currently providing, and who are their customers. So whether they are serving the MSMEs, whether they are serving the large corporates. And the findings were fantastic, because when we started analyzing, we came to know that there are a lot of solutions, those are available with IoT. Those are the pain points which MSMEs and SMEs have. So this is a win-win situation for both the MSMEs, SMEs, as well as the IoT service provider. Also, we found out that all the MSMEs we met, almost all, are very keen to participate or explore the IoT. And they are aware about IoT, they are aware about the new happenings in the IoT, and they are willing to participate in the IoT cluster program. So there was a huge response. The IoT service providers are also very inquisitive to look at what MSMEs are looking forward for, and they are looking for integrating with them. So this survey has overall helped to understand how to move ahead for the IoT cluster. I want to thank MCCI for giving us the opportunity to work with MCCI. I also want to thank the participants who gave us time for the interviews as well as their feedback. I want to thank Ms. Gauri Kare, who helped us in assisting the survey, as well as Mr. Prashant Joglekar and Mr. Sudhanva Kopardekar. So I invite all the new MSMEs and SMEs to be the part of IoT cluster, because MCCI has got great plans. They are planning to have clusters across. So once this cluster is being formed, they can replicate it everywhere, as well as the IoT service providers to participate in this particular cluster. And thank you. Have a good afternoon, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I now request Mr. Aditya Paranspe, Chairman Electronics Committee, MCCIA, and COO, Tor.io.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to basically share my thoughts through this presentation on a very popular topic these days, which is Industry 4.0. I have been through this journey of Industry 4.0 for the past 10 years, and have seen how digitization in general, and when we talk about specifically with MSMEs, how it has evolved over the past 10 years or so. I think the most positive fillip that Industry 4.0 received was during the 2 years of COVID, because people started questioning certain fundamental assumptions, things like working from home, things like certain data points, are they secure to be accessed remotely? Can machines be connected? Can energy be monitored? Can water be conserved? Can my workforce be more engaged? So if you have to get something to change, it is important that the fundamental assumptions get questioned. And in some way or the other, those fundamental questions, those fundamental assumptions got questioned during COVID. And what we are seeing right now is a much better acceptance, a rapid adoption of, Industry 4.0, IoT, digitization, all these concepts. And, you talk to anyone in this domain, and the one thing that they'll tell you is IoT and Industry 4.0 is here to stay, and there's going to be an exponential increase in the adoption of these technologies. What I plan to do is, give you a glimpse of what is it that we are specifically talking about when we say Industry 4.0. What are some of the do's, don'ts, a few case studies of companies who have successfully adopted practices of IoT and Industry 4.0, and over the last 10 years, what are some of our observations that are critical to make sure that the project is successful. I take back something that Lalit Kumar ji said, that when we talk about B2B business and when we talk about IoT, it's not a toy. Adoption will go up provided there is an ROI. If there is no ROI, no matter how much you talk about technology, how much you talk about digitization, it's just not going to make sense. On the other hand, what we have observed, for successful implementations of IoT and Industry 4.0, the ROI is immaterial. That means you're able to achieve payback periods of under 15 days. It becomes that much of a no-brainer. So, you have this vast divide. On one hand, you have projects that have simply burnt a lot of money and have not resulted in any ROI. And on the other hand, you have projects where the money has been recovered in 15 days. So, what is it that one can do to make sure that you're on, the 15-day side and not on the side where you have burnt a lot of money? So, through this session, let's see if we are able to, explore what are some of those basic do's and don'ts. So, when you talk about Industry 4.0, just to put things into perspective, this is what we are talking about. The entire industry, since Industrial Revolution to what we are today, can be divided into these four, buckets. Starting with the steam engine, which is considered to be Industry 1, that's where the concept of mass manufacturing or, a method to manufacturing first came up. Then you had the concept of assembly lines, which was, spearheaded by the automotive revolution. So the days of Henry Ford, that is considered to be, industry 2. Then you had this whole wave of automation where we talked about SCADAs, PLCs, HMIs, distributed control systems. That entire concept which came up, in the 70s, late 80s, which continues till today, is considered to be industry 3. And what started technically in 2011 is industry 4, which is basically 3 enablers that take the industry 3 to industry 4. One is IoT. So essentially what can be connected within your facility will be connected through IoT. The second is cloud. So the infrastructure which would typically be needed for any industry 3 type of installation is no longer needed thanks to the cloud. So you plug in and you're good to go. You don't have to make any investment on day one. Whatever you consume can be paid on a recurring basis. The third major technology hurdle that was there is big data. So, you had to be very sensitive about the amount of compute that is available at your data center or in the infrastructure which you have invested. With big data coming in, with distributed architecture in which the IT systems today work, that is no longer a constraint. So these are 3 very important enablers that have led to this revolution of industry 3 to industry 4. The other thing that we need to understand is, that is as far as technology is concerned. The other major change is in the way we look at organizations. So today, if you notice, there are specific boundaries and a specific workflow in which the typical organizations run. I mean, this can go back to Michael Porter's value chain, in which the series of, value-added activities are positioned. And you have boundary walls which distinguish between, suppliers, the company, the customers, the employees. That relationship completely changes. So when we talk about Industry 4.0, all your systems need to be connected. The boundaries that traditionally were there within the organizations are no longer there. So you have to have complete flow of information from your suppliers to your customers. So your customers in real time should know where their product is in your manufacturing locations. The suppliers also should know in real time, what is it that the manufacturing plant is currently manufacturing, where are bottlenecks, and what can I do to make sure that those bottlenecks go away. So at the core are the people, your employees, suppliers, customers, and then you have the analytics, you have your things, which are your machines, you have industrial IoT, which is connecting all of them, and this is how the organization looks like. So it's not enough just adopting technology. When you look at an industry 3 to industry 4 transition, your mindset also needs to change. You no longer need to treat your employees, customers, suppliers separately and, information on a need-to-know basis. All these things need to be reassessed. This is a very interesting concept. Again, I go back to Michael Porter in his seminal piece, which was published in Harvard Business Review, which talks about, the efficiency frontier, which means when you adopt all the best practices that are available, and this is specifically true for many industries that are already at cutting edge. When you reach that cutting edge, for every incremental improvement in quality, there is a trade-off with the cost. That means I am already, and those of us who supply, products to OEM specifically will all be aware that, every year the OEM has 2 demands. One is how can I improve my quality, and second is how are you going to reduce my cost. Okay. Everything has already been squeezed to the brim. I mean, there are very little margins now. Most people who work with OEMs would realize that whatever जो कुछ भी करना था वो already कर चुके हैं. अभी वो और kidney मांग रहा है. So what am I supposed to do? So that's where these digitization practices, play a vital role. They shift that efficient frontier, which means by adopting Industry 4.0 practices, you can further improve quality at the same time reduce cost. So this system will throw up areas where there are leakages which you are completely unaware of. So look at it in one way. This is a demand from the customer. If you are able to fulfill that demand, you are also beating your competition because this technology is new. Few in the industry are adopting it at the moment, and it is giving you that much more opportunity without compromising on your margins. You are able to offer a better value proposition to the customer. So from the technology standpoint, from the organizational standpoint, and from the business standpoint, these are 3 main, I would say, biggest drivers for people to adopt Industry 4.0 and digitization techniques. this is a little bit about, where we stand as far as adoption is concerned. So, we were looking at, is there effective data available that can, give us some indication ki what is the level of penetration today. How many companies within MSMEs or larger companies have adopted Industry 4.0 technique? Is it on their radar? What are the things that they're saying? So we go back to a Gartner report that was published, a couple of years ago, where the positive is that it is definitely on everyone's radar. A lot of the larger companies have internal digitization teams which are, driving those roadmaps. We are yet to see that adoption push coming in from MSMEs, simply because it's a matter of where to focus on, what to prioritize, and at times the budget, the ticket size, all of those need to be balanced. And what are some of the priority areas? They all are come around how can these tools be used to increase revenue? How can they be used to improve productivity, improve customer experiences, create new business models? And in certain cases, and we are seeing that a lot in IoT, that the entire business model is changing. So we actively work with a company that supplies industrial pumps. And the challenge that they're facing today is the customers are not willing to invest capex for those pumps. So then why not offer pumps or other water flow as a service? Now that is an interesting business model. That means instead of the customer paying capex for the pump, he pays every month based on the consumption of the pump. Absolutely brilliant business model, but for this to be successful, you need to have a digital tool which will tell you at the end of the month what is the reading. I mean, you don't expect someone to go to that customer's location and take the reading manually. This can be digitized, one. If the customer does not pay, there needs to be a mechanism of remotely immobilizing that pump. Technology is available. So this is possible today. There is another customer, a very interesting use case where all of you would be aware that, electric mobility is ramping up in the country in a very big way. Now, if you analyze, with every vehicle, 50% of the cost of the vehicle is the battery, and the remaining 50% is the chassis. There is a company that is offering the battery as a service. Now look at this beautiful value proposition. That means I need to upfront invest only 50% of the cost of the EV, and whatever is the running cost, I pay for that through the savings that I'm accruing. So today, an electric vehicle, if you look at a four-wheeler, the running cost is roughly 1 rupee per kilometer against a 10 rupee per kilometer for a petrol. The 9 rupees that I'm saving, I can pay for the battery through that. Absolutely brilliant business model. For this to be enabled, again, the backbone is going to be your IoT and digitization roadmap, so that based on the behavior of that driver, based on the kilometers that that driver has run, my entire billing cycle will happen. So these are fundamental things that are changing, and if we don't adopt these techniques, you will find that one fine day, the carpet under our feet has just been pulled. So some case studies around which are very successful, very popularly used, smarter products. So if you're an OEM and you're manufacturing equipment, it could be a test bench, it could be, an injection molding machine, it could be anything. It could be an electrical panel. Can I make that panel smarter so that the life of my customer, becomes easier? I'm able to manage that seamlessly. One use case, extremely popular. The second case study is around digital factory, which is very, very useful for MSMEs, that you identify processes within your factories that consume a lot of time, that require manual intervention, that require a whole host of reports that need to be, written down. Why not digitize this? Very straightforward, extremely low capex that is needed here, and your savings start from day one, simply because now data is available. You know what is your productivity matrix. You don't need that person who is manually filling tons of logbooks which then go into the raddi. Okay, so extremely low hanging fruit, easily doable. One subset of that is paperless quality. Again, you can get end-to-end traceability of your system, completely digital. It can be integrated with an ERP system, or it can work as the ERP system if you're on Tally. Extreme low hanging fruit, energy management. I mean, the number of conversations that we have had with MSME customers, half of them don't know how to read their bill. If you read your electricity bill itself, you will know how to save 10, 15, 20% out of that straight away. And that is, first meeting ROI delivered. And then in runtime, how do you keep improving? How do you monitor the specific energy consumption? That means every part that I manufacture, how much energy, how much water, how much compressed air is being used, and year on year, how do I reduce that? Extreme low hanging fruit. This calls for a capex of under 20-25,000. It's that low, and it'll give you saving straight away. So these are just some use cases that are popular. I'm telling you, sky is the limit. If you get into deep diving on what all is possible through the digitization, tools that are available at our disposal, sky is the limit. Important key success factors. Now that we have seen what is possible, how do you go about, approaching these identified areas? So there are certain things that are must. First is, you should be able to articulate your problem statement well. Invariably, what we find with many companies is that the problem statement is not articulated well, and then instead of solving that one problem, we try to solve 3 problems, and then the solution is suboptimal for all those problems. So we need to spend time in how we are articulating the problem. Management mandate is must. Very, very important point, and this is, I would say 9 out of 10 Industry 4.0 projects fail is simply because the management is not used to transparency. This system is going to generate a lot of data. It is going to be transparency. That is the first thing. If you still go back to saying that, nee, this data is wrong, I believe my, shop floor employee, supervisor, this system is not for you. Very, very clear. But if you believe that decision has to be data driven, that transparency is the way forward, then the management mandate for making sure that investment in these projects happen should be your responsibility. Have an internal team, empowered, which can work on this, and this has to be looked at as a continuous improvement journey, not as a point-in-time activity, because once you link one system, the other systems automatically need to be linked. So look at it from that manner. Have a budget assigned to it. Have strong implementation partners, system integrators, IoT companies with good repute who can be partners in that journey. ROI monitoring mechanism is must. So when you start the project, you should know exactly how much ROI is this project going to deliver, and you need to have a mechanism that periodically, every 2 months, 3 months, that is revisited. And how much ROI till date has been received from that project should be mapped. Have a mechanism of horizontally deploying. That means if this has been initiated in one line, see how your entire factory can be covered. And have a feedback loop which can feed into the next project. So these are basic do's and don'ts that will ensure that the probability of success increases manifold. So with that, I come to the end of this short presentation. I'd like to remind everybody that this is a journey, and all of us learn also through interactions that we have with customers, with other supplier partners, through events like this. But one thing is for sure, the digital tools available at our disposal here in India and at the price point at which they are available is not available anywhere in the world, thanks to the might of our IT workforce that we have. So it is imperative that we make most of this opportunity that is available with us and adopt some of these tools which are there. With that, I would like to wish everyone all the best. Thank you so much for your patient listening, and I look forward to the interaction during the last session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to invite Mr. Himanshu Zadhav, CEO and Director, GendaMark India.
Hello, good afternoon. Thanks, Aditya. Where's Aditya gone? Yeah. I'm going to contradict you on a few of your presentations, okay? So, disclaimer up front. We'll have a debate after that. Thank you, everyone. My name is Himanshu. I'm the CEO and Director for GendaMark in India. The topic is technology enabling businesses using digitalization. Before I start, I think I'll move on that side. We'll first probably try and see if this technology works. Doesn't. So step one. Right, so what is GenderMark? GenderMark is a company which is into automation, digital manufacturing, and digital education. This part will focus on the center part, which is digital manufacturing. We build machines, equipments, assembly lines, factories, stuff. That's where the factory is currently located. We are around almost 300 people now. Head offices in Pune, offices in Chennai, Bangalore, Delhi. What we have done so far, important to build credentials, as we may know before, unless you don't build credentials, don't believe anyone who says anything. We have delivered India's first battery pack line, India's first commercial vehicle motor line, first catalytic converter line, a company to have its software division, also delivered to Boeing Defense in US, and set up our own model which is implemented in Ashok Leyland Mahindra's, called as the Factory of Future. So that's some credibility to what we might engage now. That's our customer base, which covers several automotive and non-automotive, and also a lot of tier 1 companies and MSMEs. And that's in fact why myself and Sudhanvaji got into contact, is after we met, he said, why don't you think of doing this for tier 1s, apart from tier 1s for MSME and SME, is this solution applicable also for SMEs and MSMEs? And after going through the journey with these guys, I realized actually it is more applicable and more useful for MSMEs and SMEs. The problem only is that it is a feeling that it is not for me, it's only for these big OEMs. Right, so what we all need, and I think this is something which, again, what the research came up was what most SMEs, MSMEs need is higher consistent revenue, which is a predictable bottom line, faster response to market with new products, like already mentioned was, every OEM wants something every year which is lesser price, more quality, reduce dependency on skilled manpower, because all the skilled manpower gets sucked by the OEMs. In fact, the tier 1s and the SMEs become like a training school for OEMs. Every OEM is just going to pick out skilled employees from the ones who are actually training them. Lower capex, lower initial investments with better finance, higher flexibility in capacity utilization, improved asset utilization, and tech readiness for future. This is our understanding of last decade or so of engaging, providing so many companies of what do any company, and primarily also SMEs need, is revolves around most of this. I'm not saying this is the only thing, but it primarily revolves around these things. Well, now that I can't move, I might just keep this aside. So we already saw the Industry 4.0 chart, which Aditya showed us, really well put up. What we actually feel and what we have experienced is Industry 5.0, right? And actually, if you look at the common denominator of each of the industrial revolutions, it is what value each revolution added to the previous one. And if there was no value add, the industrial revolution will defeat its purpose, we will not evolve. So mass production, like it was mentioned, use of technology to enhance efficiency. But one common thing which I realized in all the previous four was this absolute urge and the human need or greed to do more. Every time we wanted to do something more, increase production, come what may. So that was the mindset between all the fourth industrial revolutions so far. Now, when we come to Industry 5.0, and I'll touch upon it briefly as a bit, I think COVID taught us doing more and more has no limit. And eventually, when we are stuck in our own houses, the human element in us kind of got awakened. We all realized that there is value to being human. Just doing more because we can and running behind certain aspects of materialistic requirements is not going to solve the purpose of humankind. And that's where I think Industry 5.0 came in. Now, coming one step back to fourth industrial revolution, as we all know, 2011 is when this topic started in Germany. Now, there's a reason why it started in Germany. That's because in 2010, the German government got the census report which states the German population and its effect it will have on the industry going forward. Now that's when they commissioned the top German companies like Bosch, Thyssen, Siemens, and gave them the report and said, guys, please come up with a solution for these problems, because their problems are a bit different, like population is decreasing and stuff. So the story is simple, that these solutions like autonomous robots, system integration, IoT, cybersecurity, cloud computing, and so on and so forth, were actually initiated initially, I'm not saying that this is the only reason, but initiated to solve problems with which German economy was facing in 2011, based on the census report. And this is a documented fact by Boston Group, BCG, which actually pioneers in this. So now that's when the story of Industry 4.0 is. The question we asked ourselves was, are these appropriate for India? Now the back end of this is, this simple chart which we prepared is comparing certain elements. The population of Germany is 8.3 crores. The population of Maharashtra is 12.3 crores. Right? I mean, it's first fact. Area is of Germany is 3,50,000. We are 32 lakhs in terms of square feet area. Maharashtra is almost equal to Germany. Germans speak at the most 5 languages. We speak official 780 languages, 1,000 dialects. I mean, a guy from Chennai can't go to Karnataka and speak the language, even if they're sharing the border and stuff. I think the fourth one is very interesting, the per capita income. The per capita income of, which means average income of an individual is 38 lakh in Germany. Our per capita income is less than 2 lakhs. Now when you think of, literacy rate of course can't be compared, we are still an evolving educational country. Now when you compare these things, right, do you really think that the government of Germany knew about these problems of India? Or this, they don't. They were looking at their set of problems. Our set of problems are these: lower per capita income, literacy, language, healthcare which is non-existent, crime and corruption. In fact, one of the things which I can't mention is contract labor. And if anyone who runs a tier 1 or an MSME will tell you, the most biggest problem is not raw material and finance, is getting contract labor. I mean, that's not a thing which is spoken by anyone because it's a taboo to speak, but that's the reality. Contract, and if you go, if anyone is from north side of India, if you go to Delhi side, on Ghaziabad border, Faridabad border, every Monday, trucks are sent to pick people up and bring to factories in Delhi, and every Friday they're dropped back and they are never seen again. That's the reality of Indian manufacturing, especially in automotive sector, at least in several places. Now these problems are not there in Europe, and that is why, and for example, this is an example of the chart which came out of population, the working age, and this is from the census report of Europe. The working age is diminishing. What you see on my left now, it can't work, is there are less people between 0 and 20 in this decade than there were in the last decade, which means the number of people going to work in 2030 to 2040 in Europe is going to be less than they were working in 2010 to 2020. India has an opposite problem. We have a evolving pyramid. Our pyramid base keeps growing every year, and it will continue to grow for next decade at least. Again, this is coming from World Economic Forum. This chart is also interesting because everyone tells me when I show this chart, हाँ तो उसके बाद क्या? 10 साल के बाद, so like, yes, this is now up to 2100, right? Now we are talking about end of century. Now, end of century, it is expected 80% of the population is going to be in developing countries, which is India, Asia, and Africa. 20% is going to be in developed countries. Now, if you look at the problems of developing countries, and if you think 80% is going to be in these areas, will this solve the problem? Or only this solve the problem? Not this, will only this solve the problem? And hence, the solution which is foreseen by us at least is use automation in areas where there is developed economy, because with using technology and automation, we can do more with less. Like we saw the comparison of area available in Germany, population in Germany. But in countries like ours, today where we stand, yes, we are supposed to be a 5 trillion economy and so on and so forth, but there I think digitalization is the key to go ahead with digitalization, because we have to do more with more. We have more people, more resources. We can't think, if you start doing everything with less, the next thing is going to be a social unrest where we will not be able to sustain that only at top. Already we have a big divide in the rich and the poor. It's only going to further get widened. And that's the key. Now, when it comes to digitalization, Aditya really mentioned some really good takeaways, and I was quite happy to see how to go around structuring. Honestly, what my experience when I also worked with these OEMs, and I come from a similar background, is everyone wants to know, where do I start? Kal subah kya karna hai, right? What happens now? Or how does this exactly fix this problem which I have, right? So our proposal always centers around that digital transformation is the end goal, right? You start with simple things. Start with digital information, organize the information, which is digitization. Don't go for digitalization, start with digitization. Then you follow digitalization, which is improving, automating processes, streamlining processes, and in the end, go to transformation. The problem is everyone tells us, because we have read this report from BCG and all the consulting companies, where digital transformation steps, and you directly jump to transformation, leadership transformation. Leadership has to invest, bottom line has to grow up. I think in reality, our experience suggests that if you don't do step 1, you will not reach step 5. So step 1 is where you start. And obviously then the goals, there are outcomes which will happen in each goal. Like first thing I say is, right, start eliminating paperwork. Easiest step, eliminate paperwork. Then real-time data visibility, then comes report as per your exceptions. Like instead of looking at what is going well, look at what is not going well. Then go to social intelligence, and that is the end journey. And that's how we will proceed. Common thing which I shared is people first, people in the center, data model, AL, ML services. Problem is people start now, because we have got used to the word AI, I would like to put AI in my factory. But they still don't start digitization, and they want AI, and that's where the disconnect starts. Right, so having said this, the theory part, I think I've already covered this, so I won't go, because I want to go to practical examples. I won't go through my product range here, because that's on display outside, so you can come and see. But what it does, now I've showed you the problems which most of us have, and what we all need, right? So faster response to market with new product is one of the biggest challenge, which Sudhanaji also mentioned. It most of the SMEs, MSMEs want, is we would like to have a quick response. My customer wants a product in next 3 weeks. He would like to have a new variant in next 2 months. That's a real problem, and it's very easy to be demanding to an SME and MSME, right? I mean, in the summary, this is what everyone wants. Everyone wants one tree, one line, which makes multiple fruits and products. That's even my OEMs also have the same expectation कि एक line पे सब बनना चाहिए. Because time नहीं है line डालने के लिए, time नहीं है training देने के लिए, time नहीं है development के लिए. ऐसा एक line बनाओ जिसपे सारे फल लग जाएंगे, जब चाहिए हम काट लेंगे. Now this is, at one point of time, this was my inspiration to my team when we actually set up designing a line. I mean, I had this big frame printed and put in my design office, and I told everyone, guys, this is what we want to achieve. It was a big joke in the beginning, but eventually we ended up doing something like this with digitalization, where you can make a seating module in the morning, a fuel cell in day shift, and an exhaust in the night shift. Now this was not done in India, so I can tell you honestly, but what we did in India was we had delivered a line to Tata Motors here in car plant, where they make IC and EV on the same line. Now two totally unique different powertrains, but they are made on the same line using digitalization or digitization in the beginning. And of course, you need, like you said rightly, you need a good, strong integrator who understands. Now we could deliver this because we are machine builders, we understand machines, and we have software expertise. So obviously it's an integrated approach which we could deliver this kind of a solution. But this left side, which was a story in the beginning and a joke, is actually reality today. So for SMEs, I would again advise, please look at this, that when you set up a line, it may cost 25% more in the beginning, but if you want to be in the customer's door, delivering new products every time, you need to consider flexibility in the beginning itself, and it is in reality possible. Again, the second problem we spoke about, or which we want to achieve, is reduce dependency on skilled manpower. Because like I said, SMEs and tier ones become a training ground for OEMs to hunt the people and get them into their company. Now, it's an example of actually an implemented solution. Now, what you see here at the bottom, unfortunately, the poor guy in the beginning was supposed to read that fine print in English, and that's at the bottom what is paper printouts. Most companies put this, SOP. That guy, first of all, is not from Maharashtra, doesn't know English, and he is now supposed to look at those pictures signed by all the management of that company, and he is supposed to make the product in real time, in real world. It is completely unfair to expect a contract unskilled employee not from Maharashtra to work in a factory in Maharashtra and achieve higher production, higher efficiency and higher output. And it seems like everyone who has signed a piece of paper at the bottom there has given their responsibility to him. कि हमने sign कर दिया है, वो कर लेगा अभी. हमारा तो काम, हमने तो SOP, quality head, plant head, production head, everyone is very happy to sign on an SOP and give it to him. What you see on the top, guys, is what actually he needs. He needs step-by-step instructions, visual, in his language of choice. So if the first shift guy is from Bihar, he should see in Bihari. If the second shift guy is in Punjab, he should see in Punjabi. That's digitalization, and that's what we have been able to achieve in, this is a picture from Kalyani Powertrain in Chakan itself. And that ensures that a visual guidance, local language, sequence is followed, time is monitored, and skill mapping is possible. Now that's again a practical example of how a simple IPC with step-by-step visual guidance configurable in local language can solve the problem of dependency on skilled manpower. My favorite one is this topic. Every company and every company who has a product to display, end of the line, they give the entire company's responsibility of quality in the hands of a guy who's standing there with a printout checklist like this. Even I can't read what is there, and that is now the responsibility of the guy standing in the end with a paper in his hand and a pad, and he's supposed to make tick mark on what he's seeing as a product. And he is the one who's the last gate for that company's quality being dispatched to the customer. For me, again, it is unbelievable that we are giving responsibility of such high level to an employee who is not even your employee, a contractual guy. Even if he's an employee, we are depending upon his mood and his time availability to define the product is okay for dispatch. Instead of that, like we have several times used now, what we should do is again an implemented solution on a simple 7.5-inch tab cost 12,000 rupees to have a digital SOP, a digital checklist where he again sees one step, like, for ensure the bolts are on the bus bar is done. It's a simple step, yes, no. If you want, there's a picture at the bottom which you can make a note or take an image. A simple step, take an image of the tightening being done or take an image of the wiring being done correctly. Once that is done, now you have information which is variant specific, visual guidance, image is captured. There are drop-down comments. Instead of him now typing something, he can select from a drop-down. And again, it was felt by the management, and here I would like to really emphasize on this topic. Management told me our employees are not able to use handheld devices and they don't know how to use IT solutions. I just said, give me 2 hours on your floor, and I asked everyone during lunch break, again this is an implemented story so I can't tell the customer's name, everyone on that floor in that company was using Instagram. Believe me guys, if you use Instagram, this is a piece of cake. Every single employee of that company in his lunch break, after having lunch, was going on Instagram, Facebook. I'm not on Twitter and X now, but they were also doing all of that. So if an employee who's a contractual employee, sab log Twitter pe hai. This is way easier than Twitter. Yes, no, click picture. And I told the guy, it's my responsibility to the head of the company, leave me with these guys for 2 hours and you will see a report directly like this. And that's the simple answer to a problem which was there in that organization of we are employing people, but everyone puts a tick mark, but actually mein problem aata hai customer ki taraf se, which leads to insurance claims. Now we could now have a digital solution. The moment he finishes checklist, there is an immediate Odin Ensure report with pictures taken on every single product, which he can also keep on cloud and share. So there is no printing the paper out, storing and scanning it. It's a ready-made report every single time the moment it is released. Next is again reducing dependency on skilled manpower. This is a typical line which we have where we have operators working, the product goes from my left to my right, and because we don't have skilled operators, what we do is we put a camera system after every process step, like over here, that before the operator A puts to B, there's a photo camera taken that he has done his job. Again, counterproductive, because if he has not done his job, we go back again, rework it again. So actually this entire current process of checking after doing is quite rudimentary and not value adding and leads to a lot of reworks. We put expensive cameras. I mean, if there are guys who know, each camera costs around 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs to take images and compare. So the solution is simple. The problem it has is, first of all, the cameras work with reference of standard image, which means you take an image, the next product coming has to be exactly equal to the previous image. It's expensive. It needs high-end programming, so I can't program. We need special guys with special skills of camera programming to do that. Impact of light and dust is there, repair and service if the camera goes in breakdown. So solution is a simple thing what we have developed, and again on display there is 4 web cameras costing 6,000 to 8,000 rupees, AI software backended, which actually does not just a job of telling the operator what he's supposed to do, it tracks the operator's hand motions, it ensures he has picked the right parts, and all of these with one hardware. You don't need multiple hardwares, multiple cameras, and unlike the previous step, which is checking after doing, it checks while doing. So you don't have to now check and ensure that something has gone wrong. While you're doing, it will stop you because there are continuous tracking. It's not an image capturing, it's an AI engine which while the work is going on, if I put my hand in the wrong place, it alerts me. No, that not this part, this part. So so it stops me from picking the wrong part. Even while tightening, it tells me where to tighten, how to tighten, and if I'm doing something wrong, it stops me there. It's not allowing me to proceed and then correcting me. Again, asset utilization, because everyone is going to buy a lot of assets. We'll keep investing in expensive machinery. That's how the machinery looks when you actually buy it, right? Everyone buys, this one costs around 30 odd lakh rupees. I have seen, and I've given this solution in many casting companies and machining companies. They all buy expensive high-end machines. After 2 years, it looks like this. Because there is no maintenance done, because believe me, SMEs and MSMEs in these specific companies, maintenance is never considered as a value-adding thing for the company. Because they just want somebody to maintenance for them is, oh, machine subah saaf karne aata hai koi to. Somebody cleans the machine and maintenance is done. But actually this is what it ends up looking like. Solution is again a simple tab-based system where an untrained employee of your company can actually do step-by-step guidance on the machine. He doesn't have to remember. So even if I don't know this particular machine's maintenance, we create hard software on a simple handheld tab, and where we are able to give clear instructions, capture images of the maintenance being done, and report any alerts. And that's again an effective way of doing maintenance with an unskilled person. That's how it, in the end, what it results. I think I'll have to skip through the time limit. I think this next guy is going to get nervous now. Okay, last again is going to be this problem. I think everyone has seen this problem, is we give complex documentation, bundles and packages of it every time. Even if you buy a TV, you get booklets and manuals. When you buy a phone, there's always a brochure inside, but none of us actually read it. We have never read if you have bought an iPhone 15 now, it comes with a bigger book than iPhone 14. I don't know why, what has got added, because features are same still, but still there's a bigger booklet. And now you think a complex diagram like the right side one, which is a electrical diagram, something changes in next 6 months, 1 year. Who is going to go and change that in the hard copy? There's no chance of anyone touching the wiring diagram done in 2023 in 2026. So to solve that, again, is digitalization of the current process, wherein we all scan barcodes in restaurants and hotels and even pan thelas, right? Same process. Scan the barcode on each single machine. You get a nice asset list of all things that you want to see. Select from the drop-down menu what you have, and you can easily arrive at the point of information what you really need in 10 to 15 seconds. Because whenever a line is down, any assembly line, any machine is under breakdown, everyone wants somebody to make it work. But nobody knows where to start. The first step is scan the barcode of that machine. If there's an error code coming, type the error code. It will show you what the error code is and how to fix it. And then you don't need to look around, because there's always a case I have seen, 7 management guys are standing on the line looking at one guy who's trying to fix it. But the poor guy is holding a box like this and trying to find the paper kahan pe jahan pe diagram dikha hua hai, which is not relevant. That's the reality of our manufacturing sector today. All right. So I think I'll skip to this. We are also giving lines on, like said, service. I mean, like you rightly, battery as a service. We actually provide lines as a service now, because people don't want to own lines. We pay, or we get paid per part produced. So I can have an investment in my own factory. I ask my clients to come in, bring their material. I make lines for them and deliver the product and charge per piece and not buy the asset, because we have mastered the art of making flexible lines. And the cost, 500 rupees per asset. Now think, for 1 month, if you are going to get charged with only 500 rupees per asset, and your asset cost, if you take a machining center, 30-35 lakhs, would you not want to pay 6,000 rupees a year to have better maintenance? And what the Raven is actually an IoT sensor, which does the vibration measurement, which tells me if my machine is working or no. That's 1,000 rupees a month. So anyone who buys a 35 lakh, 40 lakh asset should have that business acumen that I would be happily paying 6,000 rupees per year to make sure my 35 lakh of investment is well protected. Last point is the technology tech readiness. To be honest, I don't know. Having been on this side for several times on both sides of customer and a buyer, my problem is I did not know about ChatGPT 6 months back. I don't know how many of you guys knew ChatGPT. I did not know ChatGPT 6 months back. And now I see job applications and resignations coming on ChatGPT. So you can really see that ChatGPT has got into everyone's blood, right? So when you talk about tech readiness, I don't know how to solve this problem. Like, how do you solve a problem not defined with a technology not yet invented? And I think that's the crux which I don't have an answer for. I'll leave it for a forum to be discussed later. But that's the question, that how do you actually prepare yourself for a future which we don't know today? Thank you guys, that was a bit of more time, but I hope it was interesting for everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. I now invite Mr. Dinanath Kholkar, Senior Vice President, Tata Consultancy Services.
Good evening. So when Sudhanva told me that I need to make a presentation, I said, I will rather tell a story. And I'll tell you a story about something which you will be all proud about, and you will feel inspired to think that technology implementation is as easy and as impactful as it can be. So that's my goal. I'm sure everybody likes to hear stories. This story is very unique. It is the story of India. And I have presented this at United Nations a couple of times. So I can tell you very proudly that it appeals to a lot of people. The beginning of the story was on 15th of August, 2014. I hope you remember the day. Independence Day, Prime Minister Modi's first independence speech from Red Fort made a very interesting announcement about Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. And within Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, he talked about a toilet program that he wanted to launch. And there were a lot of people who were very skeptical, saying the Prime Minister at Red Fort talking about toilets. You know, really very amusing, very different. There are various reactions. 2 days later, the TCS CEO, who now is the chairman of the Tata Group, announced that TCS will fund 100 crore rupees for toilets to be built in 4 states. I'm just giving you the story, and this is all sequenced, all documented. 4 states. We actually decided not to just give the money, but actually run the program for building toilets in 4 states. And there were districts which were given to us as areas that we should own and run. And we are very drive that as a program. We started measuring. Something very interesting we found, that the regions where there were no toilets, the dropout of girls from school in the adolescence age was as high as 85%. Because there were no toilets, and when the girls came to a particular age, they would not want to go to school in those days, and hence they would stay home, they would fall back in their curriculum, and over a period of time, they would drop out. Over the next 2 or 3 years, this particular program of implementation of toilets was quite successful. We started measuring. That dropout rate came down from 85% to about 25%. It's quite phenomenal, right? Brick and mortar toilets, you have a toilet to go when you are in school, the dropout rate comes down. You'll say, what is technology? And the story is not yet started. So this is the background. This is just warming up appetizers for you, just to get you understanding of the impact or the problem which India faces. And very interesting that the previous speakers did talk about literacy, did talk about equity in our equity and equality. The story starts off in a state of Andhra Pradesh. A young chief minister, Jagan Mohan Reddy, it was one of the youngest states. He looked at data and he said, why should we accept a 25% dropout rate in schools? And that to girls, and these are government schools. So what is the reason? So he got data from the Education Ministry, Sanitation Ministry, and things like that. Very data spoke for itself. He said, look, the problem is not about toilets not being there. The problem is about sanitation not being provided. Toilets were not clean. So because toilets are not clean, even if you have a toilet and it's not clean, people are not going to use the toilet. So what can we do? And you're talking about big numbers. The state of Andhra Pradesh is not small. It's quite a large state, though it's not as big as Maharashtra or some of the others. But he said, can we automate this process? Can we completely automate this? And I'm sure many of you have seen toilets in your offices and larger places. If you go to a mall or whatever, what do you see over there? There is a chart out there. Somebody has ticked saying that I've checked sanitation. Just think about this. 45,000 government schools to do this activity of sanitation inspection. And a chief minister saying, can we automate this process? He came to us. My teams were experts in computer vision, AI. And they said, yeah, we can think of doing something. The first thing people will think about, we need cameras, we need something very interesting and stuff like that. Our teams worked along with the administrators, and it's very good, right? When the boss says that this needs to get done, everybody aligns. So in our meetings, we would have all the administrators from the Sanitation Ministry to Education Ministry, and they came up with a solution. Quite a interesting and very high impact solution. What is the solution? They've deployed a very simple app. It is on an Android phone, which pretty much most of the people in the schools, which are the teachers or the cleaning staff or even the social workers who come in, they have that app. That app has a very interesting feature. You can point at an object and click a picture. When you click a picture, it timestamps it and geocodes it. Okay? Got it? So that nobody can fudge that information. So you cannot say that kal ka picture maine aaj lagaya and said today's picture. And what are they clicking? They are clicking objects like toilets, urinals, wash basins. Any area which requires sanitation upkeep is being monitored. And we did this over a period of about a year. We did pilots, we did rollout and things like that. Something very interesting, I used to keep a track because it's my team which was doing it. And every time they would do something, for every demo, the chief minister himself came. Because my team would send a picture with Jagan Mohan Reddy. That was the attraction for them. And I'll come back to that point, which is very important, and why it is so crucial. We rolled it out at Krishna district initially. This was the COVID year, so it was 2021. 2022, we rolled it out across the state of Andhra Pradesh. And 2023, we started measuring the outcomes. Okay, and what was being done with these images? All the images which are getting captured in a 2-hour window, which is between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m., these images would get captured. How many images? 45,000 schools, roughly 500,000 images being captured, all uploaded on cloud. And on cloud, we ran a very simple engine which would just score that image as clean or unclean. As simple as that. What we do with that clean and unclean data? It's all out in public on the government website. You can go there today and check it out. What is the situation today in the government schools in Andhra Pradesh on sanitation? You look at Andhra Pradesh, drill down to Krishna district, you drill down to a taluka, you drill down to a town, you can actually see the state of sanitation in that school. You see a pattern of 2 or 3 days where the sanitation is not good, an alert goes out, and you are asked a question, what is the problem? And now you would look at it as a technology, AI, I'm sure many of you, why do you want to worry about what we used, what is the type of mechanism, what training we did, and things like that? Leave it to the technologists, we did it. And look at the commercial dimension of it. And this is very interesting. And I'm sure many of you out here would be very curious. Paise kahan se aa gaye? The government of Andhra Pradesh gives 15,000 rupees to parent to ensure that they send their kids to school. Because if they don't give them the money, they would put them on labor. So they give 15,000 rupees to every parent to ensure that the kids come to school. And this is done as part of a government initiative which has been laid down. I have all the details around it. They did a very smart thing. When they give the 15,000 rupees, they deduct 1,000 rupees as toilet maintenance fund. Toilet maintenance fund of the entire state of Andhra Pradesh is 430 crores. What does it cover? It covers people who are required to clean. It has supervisors. It has equipments. It has supplies. Technology cost, 2%. Just 9 lakh rupees for the entire state of Andhra Pradesh to do this activity. AI at scale deployed in a state of Andhra Pradesh, right? In government schools. These are not private schools, these are government schools. This is technology for you in India. Now you talk about the outcome. Every year they estimate that 1,20,000 school girls are going to drop out. 2023, only 35,000 girls dropped out. 85,000 girls retained in school because you are giving good quality sanitation in those schools. Maybe just one of the reasons, but it is high impact, it is high outcome which is delivered. And they got great ideas. So it was not that we did a complete rollout. They're now rolling it for midday meals. I'm sure many of you know about midday meals. They want the same technology. And how many days does it take us to add on some new feature? 15 days. Amazing, impactful story. And I tell this I do a lot of leadership sessions within TCS, within Tata Group, within many of my sessions in engineering colleges. And this, for you, is technology. It has AI. It has cloud. You name it. You have amazing technology, web technologies, the transparency which is provided. Interesting thing is, they've come up with, based on our recommendation, that app which is there has become an ordering app. So the headmaster or the person who is managing it gets an alert saying that 3 days there's a problem. The person can go and say, I have a problem with a worker, I have a problem with supplies, I have a problem with equipment. And the state will provide that supply. It is an ordering mechanism. So this is technology for you at scale. Now what's very important, let's go back to that story. Jagan Mohan Reddy's role. This role is the absolute critical role in any technology deployment is of the sponsor. And the sponsor is not somebody who gives money or signs the check. The sponsor is the person who watches each and every step that is getting executed and bees there and ensures that whatever is being promised is getting delivered. And the point I'm mentioning to you, he need not have been there at the demos. He could have just come and done a big inauguration, got a selfie done, pictures, put it out on social media. You've not seen anything on social media. That's leadership. And I think that is very crucial to highlight the fact that sponsorship for any of these transformation programs is the most critical factor which I have seen and experienced, especially when cost and especially when there are people who are not believing that technology can make a difference. That's one point. The second one is on transparency. The difference it made, first thing which you will see is the government anyway knows that there are problems related to sanitation quality and things like that. Once you put it out on the net like that and you see that 40% of the schools are on poor sanitation, just think about it, what the sanitation minister would have felt or the education minister would have felt. But that's a one-time impact that you will always take, and that's the type of impact any organization has to go through when they create that level of transparency. But that transparency drove that subsequent improvements to such a level that they have got that level of quality. And the third one is the entire purpose-driven approach that was there. Jagan Mohan Reddy knew that if Andhra Pradesh as a state has to become like what they have separated out from, which is Telangana, they need that level of talent and they cannot afford to drop anybody from school. The purpose was the most important thing which they were able to drive. So when I look at this, this has been a phenomenal inspiration. I have spoken about this. In fact, the entire thing came up from a project that we did for the Government of India, especially to the security advisor. He actually called me up and said, Dina, this folks from United Nations want to hear how India is getting ready for AI. Just think about it. United Nations wanting to know how India is getting ready for AI. And this is Dr. Gulshan Rai, who is like Ajit Doval's right-hand person in those days and stuff like that. I said, Dr. Rai, you're asking the wrong question. It is not about India is ready. India has implemented it and at scale. And then I presented this story to the United Nations Asia Pacific team. And the next thing they did is that they said, you need to present this at Geneva so that people appreciate and understand where India is on AI and technology. So I thought I will give you this story because many a times we think that technology is difficult to implement, technology requires a lot of money and things like that. And it's not that easy. It's absolutely not that easy. But I feel that if we take inspiration from stories like these, a lot of the problems that we face in taking decisions or decisions which are at tipping points can become very easy. And I've been very closely working with Dr. Mashelkar on various of the initiatives, and Doc says a very interesting thing. He has a framework called Assured Innovation Framework, and I'm sure many of you use various innovation frameworks, and we actually benchmark this on Assured Innovation Framework. Assured stands for affordable, sustainable, scalable, usable, and things like that. And we found it true on all these aspects, and I feel that when we look at solutions in the context of the MSME sector, I think we should look at innovations of this nature where the outcome is of a very high value and keep the focus on the outcome. And I feel that it is not about making the high tech available for the big companies or the low tech available for the low end companies, but Indian MSME requires high tech at a low cost. And I think that inspiration is this story. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I now invite Mr. Prashant Pansare, CEO, Rubyscape Labs.
Good evening, and we are now racing against the time, so I'll keep it very short. I will avoid the points, some very brilliant points that are made during the earlier sessions, and come probably straight to the feasibility part and what are some of those really business innovation solution ideas in AI for the SMEs. So this is a very simple illustration. What happens is that most of the time we feel that the business value that we derive out of the data using the AI, and it looks very simple, but this is like a OTT application or maybe a tip of iceberg. But what is real iceberg, if you actually sit and think, is this. And we talked about this in earlier sessions, that why there is an importance of automation, digitization, digitalization, and digital acceleration. And what it leads to is to generate more and more kind of a diverse data. Now, what happens when you have this kind of a diverse data? One is that you want to first do that tracking and tracing, whether it is a machine, whether it is your customer behavior, whether it is your business model or business model innovation. And then you're going to the next level. How can you bring more and more foresight out of the insight that is happening with your business transactions? And that's where you're actually doing data science. Right from the exploratory analysis, that what has happened, what is happening, and what is likely to happen, and what I need to do to make it happen. I will add one more dimension to this, right? Many a times we think that, okay, data analytics is an outcome of an automation or some data that you have, right? That will at the most give you an answer to your question, are you doing business right? But what about asking ourselves, frequently, are you in the right business? And that is what is all about when we talk about the AI, that your markets are changing, your customer behaviors are changing, buying patterns are changing, and some real brilliant points made today that we are living in uncertain times. So when you want to predict that what is likely to happen, how can you really work backward? And that is what is also the business model innovation in that sense. So I'll keep it very simple. When we look at the landscape of what happens in typically the AI landscape and machine learning, so you have the space where the decision scientists or data consumers, your customers or decision makers, business people are on this side, and they are being supplemented by your data stewards or data managers. These are the ones who are actually bringing the diverse data, whether it is structured, unstructured, and then helping you put that synthesis to it. So simply put, it's like your left brain and right brain. You have a creation side of it, whether it is your AI or machine learning modeling, and then the execution side, where you're really wanting to scale that and wanting to, and some again points made already earlier, that how do you do your piloting? We call it as exploratory analysis for building your models and experimentations, and when you validate the results, then you want to deploy your models for scaling, right? Now, why this is important is that today your customer experience is built on your digital experience. And whether it is your shop floor, whether it is your top floor, whether it is your consumer who is experiencing your business, product, and service. And I'll give you a couple of simple examples. But when we talk about really Industry 4.0 and automation, understand it's the same philosophy, but it has actually been changed now. Here you say your data creators or data managers are replaced by machines. And that's where Industry 4.0 is coming in. And your humans, decision points are actually being replaced by the bots, right? And then you have the real-time bots monitoring your processes and efficiencies and what is happening, and then they are giving you either early warning systems, and automation is throwing out what are the challenges, whether it is right from the customer experience to climate change, right? It's a quite wider spectrum of what can happen. And that is where, how things are evolving, and they're evolving rapidly because, again, thanks to, India's technology stack, where we have the maximum hunger and appetite for a digital adoption, right from, the ground up level, rural and, urban India is being now connected with digital. So India's digital appetite is huge, and whether it is, in the corporate sector or it is in social sector, service sector, what is happening is, again, thanks to, UPI, for example, has actually demonstrated that how Indian payment gateway can change the life of citizens, and that's just probably a tip of iceberg. Right? So there are host of industries and applications that will actually follow and should follow. So in the interest of time, I'm not going into these case studies, but let me give you a small story of a very interesting case study. So here is a very simple technique in your data science, which is called a visual inspection, and how you do the part damage analysis. And earlier speaker also touched upon this, that how you can use computer vision for this image detection. Now, just imagine that you're driving a car and probably on an express highway you meet with an accident there. So from your authorized service station app, what you're doing is taking a picture or making a short video of that, and then automatically it is actually detecting using the annotation technique. And what it does is that applying the technique, it actually generates your job card. How much time and expense this will incur. And then probably while you're sipping a coffee at a dhaba, you know that, okay, it is going to cost you 10,000 rupees and probably 2 days. At the same time, your OEM also knows that who is the customer, how many cars he has bought from you, and what's his portfolio with you, so that you are deciding whether you want to give him a free pickup drop, as well as what premium and what incentives and things like that. And you say that, okay, this seems to be okay for me as an expense and time, and then the app is also ready for a data exchange, for a data monetization, right? So the insurtech comes in, and then the same data is actually shared with the insurance company. You're helping them save the e-survey. Understand, this can happen probably on the same day or a few hours, right? And then they say that, okay, out of this 10,000 bill, probably we will compensate only 7,500, some of these plastic parts and this kind of a labor is not going to be covered in this. Are you okay? And probably, if their insurance is being auctioned, you will have 2-3 different options, right? Who's going to compensate what? Now understand that these are some of the real life use cases, right? So the technology is not only for solving too much of a complex problems, but SMEs can actually look at, these kind of problems to be solved, right? Whether we are talking about, say, predictive maintenance kind of use cases. We actually did some work for a consumer product company. When they do the mass level of distribution through their vending machines, they wanted to analyze the pattern of cold storages of those machines, right? Interestingly, there were 2 cities that were contributing maximum breakdowns and the repairment of the compressor in the product. And one city was Mumbai, and the second city was Srinagar. Now, Mumbai was because the wear and tear usage and consumer base was very high, and that was the reason why probably there was a demand forecast that was showing the prediction that in this particular season, how much you have to have the inventory levels and your fleet services staff for meeting those SLAs without penalty or unaffected customer experience. But interestingly, the second city was because not it was populated, but it had a frequent power outages and power breakdowns, which was actually affecting the quality of the product. So now you understand that when you're dealing with these kind of problems at hand on both sides, what is the strategy that you derive out of it? So technology is not going to cost you, but it is going to help you earn. It is going to help you innovate and differentiate and create that differentiation in the market. And it also provides you logically what we call as disruption as well as monetization, diversification in that sense. So artificial intelligence can also help you when you're looking at, we talked about this end of line testing or visual inspection. Imagine, predictive maintenance as a service, visual inspection as a service, right? Why only software as a service? We have been using it for ages. Now, when we are moving that into the servicification, the automation is going to be the, again, boon. And when we have a populated country like India, I feel there is a tremendous opportunity that can actually be brought in, right? So these are some, thoughts to wisdom. We have an engaging panel discussion, if time permits, coming up. But I happen to come from a company called Rubyscape, which is India's first unified data science software product company. And these are some of the use cases we have built on our Made in Pune platform. So we would be very happy to engage with you maybe after the session if you have interest in these areas. Thank you.
Thank Thank you, sir. I now invite Mr. Amit Saluja, Senior Director and Center Head, NASSCOM.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So I think I have a 10 minutes of a slot, so I'll try my best to. Thank you. So I've got little more patience. So first of all, thank you MCCI for giving this opportunity, and congratulations very much for hosting this wonderful event. I in fact happened to visit few of the stalls also, and definitely there are a lot of promising solution providers are there demonstrating their solutions. So it's great to see that we have so much of a talent which is available within the city, and then maybe some of them would have come from outside city also, but definitely there's a lot of talent available here, and then good amount of lot of manufacturing companies. So definitely a lot of opportunities here to do co-creation. And so something about us, basically from NASSCOM, we share the same vision as MCCI. So that's what, when we were discussing with Mr. Sudhanva, so he suggested that maybe that's the platform where we come and then we talk about some of the things that we are doing and how we and MCCI can basically kind of work together to help the MSMEs and the other manufacturing companies get benefit about the technology adoption. Now, to briefly talk about us, so we basically, NASSCOM has set up a Center of Excellence at Gandhinagar. This was initiated with support from Ministry of Electronics and IT. And the whole aim is to accelerate the digitization in the manufacturing sector of the country. So while, you have heard all 4 presentations talk about Industry 4.0, and I will also talk about Industry 4.0, but let's see, I mean, I'll talk more from a challenges point of view and then ecosystem building point of view, just to kind of help you understand and then get to know more about how to go about some of these things. I'm sorry, but I'll quickly run the presentation, considering, I mean, I had planned for 15-20 minutes, but then I will go a little fast. Now, while ecosystem building efforts, so there are different initiatives that we are running. So there are many for the, like we have a separate program for the large manufacturing companies. The program has been running for almost 4 years now. We have program for the large manufacturing companies. Bulk of the effort which goes towards the MSMEs companies, which goes around creating awareness creation, and also we do hand holding of the MSMEs who look forward to adopt the solutions. Plus, we also have a program for the startups, basically deep tech matured startups who have ready solutions for the manufacturing companies. So we run an accelerator program where we provide all the mentoring guidance, and plus we also connect startups with the manufacturing companies so that effective collaborations basically can happen. And then a lot of engagements that we do with the academia also, where we bring forward research work in the academia space, which has already happened in the different academic research institutions, and we make them present to the industry and to the solution providers so that a lot of these innovative ideas can be adopted. Now, this is a slide which I will skip in the interest of the time. This was more around why manufacturing has become a huge focus for the country now, with a lot of growth potential coming up. Manufacturing is the growth engine for the country, and that's where there is a lot of growth which you're seeing. And definitely next to 5 to 10 years looks very, very promising for the manufacturers and for the whole manufacturing ecosystem, whoever is involved here. This is definitely going to grow like the GDP, which right now it says 16 to 17% the manufacturing provides. This is definitely go above 20 in the next 4 to 5 years. And this means more and more capacity expansion, more and more solution providers will have a role to play. And to make to this level, to reach the capacity to this level, nothing can happen without the technology. So which also stresses why technology is extremely important. Some of these points basically now have been covered in the previous presentation, but essentially the challenge that we are facing is the disparity in the adoption of the technology that we have in the country right now. So that's a huge problem that we all face. All the large manufacturing companies have been adopting a technology. It's more than a decade now. I myself also, I've spent 25 years with the corporates. I had a long stint with GE, RPG Group. I had a long stint with IBM. So that's where I've seen a lot of those adoptions happening in the space of manufacturing since more than a decade, where in fact I myself was involved. Now, but when it comes to the SME sector, I think that's where we are still facing the challenge. The SMEs basically in the country have state-of-the-art machines. I think that's a good state that we have reached, but when it comes to the adoption of the technology, the SMEs are lacking, and there are many reasons which are associated. Some of this has already been talked about, but essentially these are more around the having not enough understanding of how these solutions can help. From our side, we have engaged with more than, like whatever points which we have showing you, we have engaged more than 1,000 MSME units in the last 1.5 to 2 years only. And there are a lot of interactions, like I myself has done more than 100 plant visits where I've spent days in the plants to understand what's the way that the manufacturers are facing the problems, what kind of issues they have, what can be solved by the technology, what will take maybe some time, what are the initial kind of solutions that manufacturers definitely can look at, and what should be the approach. There are a lot of discussions that we had over the last couple of years with all the MSMEs across different states. We have done a lot of these engagements in Gujarat, in Maharashtra, in Haryana, Tamil Nadu, so there are in Karnataka. So there are a lot of engagements that are happening. Now, from a challenges point of view, this is again what the data points that you are seeing again from those 1,000+ interactions that we have done. Labor issues is definitely at the top of it, the skilled availability labor, and as previously highlighted in the previous presentation also, this issue is going to be becoming more and more bigger as the aging population happens, and then plus the more and more capacity expansion is happening, manufacturing growth is happening, internal consumption is increasing, so definitely we need a lot more, and then labor is not going to increase in any way. So the labor, especially the skilled labor, is definitely on the top of the list anywhere we go. Operational costs, whether it is energy costs or whether it is raw material costs, wear and tear costs, overall operational cost has increased. So that way our overall profitability also has got impacted. And if we compare our profitability level, our cost level, if we compare with some of the other countries, even in the China, and then we are not at par. And the biggest difference is because we are not using the technology to the extent that we should have been using, and what the other countries are using. Overall efficiency and productivity, I think this is not the case in the large manufacturing companies, but when it comes to the MSMEs, understanding of the efficiency level within the plant, like at what level my machine is working or what level my whole process is performing, batch to batch comparison, or when it comes to the discrete manufacturing only, it's still around, say, what's the capacity utilization, real capacity utilization, not the estimated capacity utilization. So those are the things, overall transparency and the visibility of the efficiency and the labor productivity also. We don't have the right kind of a data which is available with us, and that's where a lot of those improvement actions we are not able to take currently. The breakdowns definitely keeps happening, and keeping overall track record of how much of a breakdown happens, then what is the actual impact of those breakdown to the manufacturing, because a lot of those times the direct costs gets estimated, but then there are a lot of indirect costs also that comes because of the breakdown, which doesn't get estimated. So that's where it gets neglected. Biggest one again is the data and records. Everywhere in the plant MSMEs you go, every data recording is right now happening with the pen and paper, while there are instances where in the evening or the next day someone inputs those things into the Excel or maybe into the ERP, but still that's not a real time, and also there could be errors in that. And then there are no real dashboards which are available which gets analyzed so that the manufacturer is able to get the real time data insight. So that is also not happening. So there is a whole gold mine which is sitting in every manufacturing unit in the form of registers or maybe Excels, but then never get kind of utilized. So that's a big bottleneck. Now we spoke with more than 1,000 engagements we had with the MSMEs when we talked about why you are not adopting the technology. So these are some of the reasons basically that came out from then. Many people told that we don't have a digital skills, like we are electrical and mechanical people, we don't know IT. But then I think and these are all the myths. So a lot of the people don't understand is that we don't need an understanding of the solutions development. What manufacturers needs just to understand what kind of a solution can solve what kind of a problem. I think if we can understand only this level of a problem, then a lot of things can be handled there only. So that's a big gap. People say, no, I'm super busy, I don't have a time and money basically to kind of spend. But then again, if you don't do it now, then we are already too late. And so there are a lot of, even the data points, what also came in, like all the large manufacturing companies post-COVID has kind of doubled their investment in the technology investment. But when it comes to the MSME, it is not, correct? So that itself says we are already late. And if you don't do it now, then the things will become more and more difficult as we move forward. Some people are saying everything is fine in my plant, no issues, so things are okay. But again, little fallacy. And then majority of the people feel that I don't have any real examples where MSMEs have used. These are the things which are there for the large manufacturing companies, MSMEs have not used, so show us the example. So this was the problem we were facing about 1.5 years back when we started working on it. Thankfully, we have got now a lot of case studies from the MSMEs who have worked and then adopted the solution in the last 1 year. So some of which I'll show you also today. But today we have at least good number of case studies which are available within the MSME segments also. Last one is basically many people say that I have already invested in digitization. But again, there is a myth, like not everyone is aware. Like people say that we have got all the machines right now in place, production is automated, so I'm digitized, correct? So the understanding or a difference between the automation and the digitization or digitalization, I think that's not there within the MSMEs, and that's where maybe they say. So this is a slide just for them. I use it to clarify how do you differentiate between the automation and the digitalization. So automation is more around you use machines basically to produce and with an aim of producing in a less amount of time in a consistent way. So that's the big purpose. Automation is absolutely necessary, but just the automation will not help until we move from automation to digitalization. What digitalization does is basically bring all plants together, so it becomes an integrated system where resource productivity, efficiency improves drastically, because like in machine, worker basically gives something to machine works, and then machine gives output. But when it comes to the digitalization, in this case, machine and human can talk to each other, machine and machine can talk to each other, machines can do some decision making. So that's where the real benefits come, and that's where the exponential increase in the productivity and efficiency basically comes, which doesn't happen. I'm actually speaking very fast, so I hope whatever I'm speaking, you are kind of fine with that pace. These are basically when we kind of visited like the 100 plants, had those interactions, then we also thought about what kind of a basic level of solutions basically which will help them. So these are basic level, low cost and easy to deploy solutions that we have listed down. These are something which MSMEs definitely can consider. These are the solutions which will definitely have an ROI within the plants and at every level basically. So again, I don't have a time to go through each of those solutions. Ideally, I would have loved to basically explain how MSMEs can get an ROI from each of those solutions, and the level of and how much time it takes to get an ROI, what is the problems. There are multiple use cases, small use cases, which can also be derived out of this. But these are the things which covers all the challenges that I had expressed in the earlier slide, whether it brings the taking real-time decision within the plant, bringing the visibility and the transparency within the plant, doing the better planning work, improving the overall quality processes, reducing the cost, correct? All of these basic level of these solutions basically can help. And now we all have heard digitalization is nothing but a journey, correct? So it is not like setting up a manufacturing plant where you order 20 machines or 100 machines and then you are set and then you start working on it, correct? Digitalization will always be a journey where you understand your challenges, you plan few things, and then you go step by step. A lot of times technology adoption fails also because the process is not followed in a proper way, and that's where these technology initiatives gets failed. So from a steps point of view, first step is basically it should absolutely be a building and digital roadmap where you do some level of an digital maturity assessment or some kind of a challenges assessment that gets done, which helps you understand what the problems you are facing. Then the prioritization of the problems happens. You also think of where your business objectives are, what kind of an current cost that you are incurring. So there are a lot of those factors gets considered to build a digital roadmap. Next, you build a digital infrastructure. Don't start jumping into taking big solutions. First, build an infrastructure where you establish machines connectivity, where you establish the data is getting acquired digitally, where you have some kind of a camera in place, some kind of sensors in place, some kind of a machines connectivity in place, correct? So that will be the next step of it. After that, start doing the proof of concepts, which is the POCs, where you adopt the solution in a very small way and then understand what is that kind of an impact it is bringing it to you, what are the level of benefits it is bringing, and then once you are convinced, then go to the scale basically, which is the mass level of a deployment within the plant. So I think if you follow this process, the chances of failing reduces a lot. So you will definitely, I think these things will work because you will have a clear idea about what will work, what will not work for your plant. You don't have to depend on the other case studies, examples and everything. So build your small case studies within your plant and these things will definitely help you there. Now, I had already explained the slide. So this is basically what we do. So a lot of thought leadership sessions that we are doing from a startup solution provider's point of view. Accelerator program is there where you can be part of it and get connected with the manufacturing companies. We are also doing digital maturity assessment. Basically, like I am a certified Siri assessor. I'm a design thinking coach. I kind of help also companies in building technology roadmaps, so we can kind of work with you, help you develop your plan basically on what are the things to go forward. Then co-creation happens where solution providers and the startups basically works together. So that's there. We have also created a solution showcase. We have a physical lab in our office. We also have a virtual AR-based platform where we have provided to startups basically. They are showcasing their solutions, so you can come and then you can go to that virtual platform and then meet those startups and then see around those solutions. And then a lot of R&D activities also that we do. This is our program basically for the MSME sector, where we do a lot of help we provide to them on the capacity building, making them aware of on how technology can help and what kind of solutions will help you. Then we are also hand-holding some of the MSMEs basically who literally want to adopt these solutions. So it's a complete guidance and the step-by-step process which we do. And then the last thing is, once solution adoption happens, then a lot of those case studies and deployment basically that's there. I don't have a time to go through case studies, but that's a big thing. So these are the real MSMEs case studies who have adopted the solution in the last 1 year. Again, on a different multiple level of an industry, MSMEs have adopted different kind of a solution and all different kind of a solutions that was there in my previous slide where the circle diagram was there. So all of these solutions basically MSMEs have started adopting and there are real examples of it. Another 5 more examples. So I'm saying there are many examples which has come through where MSMEs have worked with the startups and adopted the solutions. This is just a view to our lab. We both have, as I told, physical lab and the virtual lab also. So if you want to know more about these solutions, get connected with the startups, you can visit this lab. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening and hope I try to make a justice in the time that I had. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Amit. Sorry for rushing you through. Now, next one is we have this session on business prospects with various countries. So my request, those who are interested in global business opportunities, please stay on. We'll have galaxy of speakers coming in. There's a bit of changeover that is required in the system. So my colleagues will do the changeover and then we can start immediately. By the time some new people who are interested in this will also join in. So we will have a session on